Meet Tsubame, an ex-Air Force op unit, who is currently stuck living that unemployed NPC life. But she secretly has a massive obsession with cute girls and frilly dresses, which triggers a flashback to last winter when she spotted a tiny loli named Misha. And ever since then, Tsubame has been hardcore camping outside her house like a sniper, until one day she spots a GigaChad job listing for a maid, perfectly daydreaming about speedrunning some childcare. So she absolutely yeets herself through the front door without a second thought. Meanwhile, our MC Misha is just grinding video games when her ferret companion alerts her to a wild Tsubame spawning at her window, which completely terrifies the poor girl into booking it downstairs to her stepdad, who blindly thinks she's just showing him affection. But then the doorbell rings, and they are instantly greeted by this overly hyped maid applicant, leading the stepdad to lay down some strict base rules about a locked-off room, just as Misha tries to initiate a sneak attack by splashing Tsubame with dirty water, expecting her to go full rage mode, but instead the crazy maid just heavily embraces her and tanks the dirt damage, even suggesting a co-op bath session, though Misha dodges the grab and retreats to the shower alone. That is, until she checks the tub and finds the boss music playing, because Tsubame is already lurking in the water, flexing an insane 8-pack of abs that absolutely debuffs Misha with pure terror. And before the kid can fast travel away, Tsubame locks onto her arm to aggressively compliment her hair, later making things even weirder by squeezing her muscular build into Misha's tiny clothes, before proudly ringing up the employment office to declare she secured her dream job. So the very next day, she rocks up in a full Maid cosplay, totally embarrassing the stepdad, while Misha tries to play stealth archer from her room to catch the maid lacking, only to get instantly detected by Tsubame's radar. And when lunchtime hits, the maid camps right outside her bedroom door, wafting the top-tier scent of freshly cooked curry that bypasses all of Misha's defenses. But the moment Tsubame mentions eating alone, Misha gets hit with heavy tragic backstory flashbacks and snaps at her, though her stomach still forces her to crawl out for the loot, carefully scanning the hallway for enemies, only for Tsubame to drop attack from the ceiling like a literal ninja, prompting Misha to demand why she is being griefed, to which the maid just holds up the pet ferret and talks about pure cuteness, annoying the MC, who is sick of people only simping for her avatar's appearance, especially when Tsubame starts ranting about the legendary value of little girls. But after clearing the backyard of trash and seeing normal kids outside, Tsubame realizes Misha has literally 0 friends in her friend list and is just isolating herself. So her big brain strategy the next day is to equip literal toddler clothes to lower her threat level. And when that totally flops, she decides to stream snipe Misha in a cooperative online RPG, creating an alt account as a second-grade girl to slip right past her anti-creep defenses, where she ignores all the weirdo DMs until she finally tracks down Misha's username, managing to secure a friend request by spamming ferret lore. But instead of finding a cute avatar, she realizes Misha is maining a massive, hairy beastman character, who explains this is the only way to keep the server's weirdos from aggroing her. And as they dive into their first monster quest, Tsubame uses her starter pistol to literally cleanse a cursed old man, almost leaking her real-life military stats with her crazy aim. Yet somehow Misha suspects absolutely nothing, so Tsubame continues the master plan, watching the kid happily text her alt account, until a massive raid boss suddenly spawns in-game while Tsubame's character is suspiciously AFK, forcing the maid to log back in just in time to assist with the boss takedown. But she fumbles the bag by accidentally calling her milady over voice chat. Fast forward to the next morning, where Tsubame literally kidnaps a sleeping Misha to go on a forced camping trip. And when she jokes about them looking like a family, Misha goes full rage mode and tries to exit the tutorial area, only stopping because Tsubame warns her that the forest mobs are way too high level, leaving the kid stuck doing basic crafting tasks like peeling veggies while watching her maid butcher fish like a psycho. But surprisingly, Misha actually starts enjoying the grind and leveling up her cooking skills, even though she refuses to admit it, prompting Tsubame to confess she just wanted to unlock their friendship route. And when the nighttime cycle hits, Misha refuses to share a tent because she thinks the maid is way too sus. So she hides in the dark woods, secretly admitting this was a top-tier day, which brings back heavy lore about her late mother, who gave her the name Misha before permanently logging out to join the stars, leaving the little girl to constantly search the sky for her mom's spirit, until Tsubame finally tracks her down and escorts her back to base camp, where Misha pretends to sleep, but overhears her maid dropping her own tragic backstory about losing her dad, which inspired her pilot dreams. And when the son finally respawns, they plan a zoo trip, allowing Misha to return home and excitedly brag to her stepdad about her epic quest. Though later, as they eat premium ice cream, Tsubame questions why the kid isn't attending school, getting baited by Misha's excuse that she is Russian and naturally bypasses the education system. But when her stepdad logs back on for the day, he reveals the real truth, explaining that Misha rage quit school after her mom died because being a good NPC didn't save her. So Tsubame's insane counter-strategy is to disguise herself as a student to infiltrate the building, trying to convince Misha to come along, but the kid is terrified of getting bullied for her foreign stats, leading Tsubame to drop some deep wisdom about how character skins are just the first impression, using a weird panda student as an example to prove that you have to grind social links for people to see your true stats. But honestly, it wasn't the pep talk that worked. It was just Misha desperately wanting to escape her maid's infinite aggro range, grabbing a set of school notes that a friend left behind before rushing out the door, which nearly brings her stepdad to tears of joy, while Misha just cringes at Tsubame's cursed school uniform, telling her to unequip that immediately because it's fooling nobody. And as she journeys to the academy, she bumps into her friend Mimika, who drops a massive lore update regarding the classroom hamsters, explaining that their teacher took them home for the summer event to keep them safe, but accidentally placed both of them in the same enclosure, completely breaking the server by spawning an infinite loop of baby hamsters. Meanwhile, back at base, Tsubame tries to snoop into the locked room while prepping a massive homecoming feast, but getting bored of waiting, she decides to literally glide over to the school to stalk her mistress, just in time to see Misha taking charge as the class leader to solve the hamster crisis. And while the other NPCs are hesitant at first, Misha's high charisma stat convinces everyone to adopt a pet with her custom care guides, completely shifting their perspective and erasing all the previous debuffs against her, which even allows her to finally remember Mimika's actual username. But before Tsubame can breach the classroom, the school guards catch her lacking, forcing her to bust the door down with her op strength. So when the weekend finally arrives, Misha thinks she is safe from the maid's torment, only to get instantly nerfed by her dad's new rules, forcing her to barricade herself in the bathroom with her animal familiars to keep Tsubame from forcing a co-op bath, where she quietly admits that while the maid has high utility, her vibes are still incredibly chaotic. And as she soaks in the tub, she suddenly remembers her massive essay quest, wondering why humans even grind for jobs when staying home and gaming is clearly the meta, briefly considering asking Tsubame about her pilot lore, before deciding that would just trigger an unskippable cutscene. So she completely abandons the side quest to gorge on ice cream and mash controller buttons instead, while Tsubame creeps in to use the leftover bathwater like an absolute menace. And when Misha finally hits the save point for the night, she finds her maid illegally occupying her bed, forcing her to yeet the intruder out before finally resting, waking up the next morning to instantly resume her gaming marathon while completely ignoring Tsubame's side activities, until the clock runs out and she realizes her essay is due tomorrow, sending her into a full panic that causes Tsubame to breach the door. And once the smoke clears, the maid spots the blank homework and offers to be interviewed as a cheat code, suggesting that Misha could just secure the bag by marrying a high-level millionaire, before casually turning the entire interview into a marriage proposal by flexing her side hustle of making doll clothes that pays out massive loot. So the next day at school, Misha confidently presents her dream of caring for animals while generating passive income, plus designing an absolute fortress to ensure Tsubame can never infiltrate her base again, which absolutely stuns the entire classroom with her 200 IQ life plan. While back at home, Tsubame reads the essay draft and gets nostalgic about her dad, leading into the next phase where Mimika decides to fast travel to Misha's house to see the legendary ferret, making Misha super hyped to finally host a friend, until the dark realization hits that Tsubame is waiting for them like a final boss. Misha visualizes a scenario where Tsubame could creep her friend out or try to hurt her out of jealousy, but she is way too late to cancel the event as Mimika rings the doorbell, only for Misha to be totally stunned when her maid actually acts like a high-level NPC, perfectly greeting Mimika by name because the creep already datamined her friend list, having researched her background entirely off-screen. And when Misha shows off her animal familiars, she is absolutely flabbergasted to discover that Mimika has a passive skill for communicating with beasts, purely because she spends all her time solo leveling at home with them, making her realize she's actually a top-tier beast tamer instead of being scared. Meanwhile, Tsubame maintains her formal butler persona until she drops some epic loot in the form of a dress, which Mimika instantly wants to equip since her default armor always gets trashed by her little brothers, also revealing her insecurities about her glasses and wishing she had Misha's blonde-op hair, leading Misha to reverse the compliment by praising Mimika's dark hair instead, prompting Tsubame to suggest new glasses frames to perfectly match her updated skin. So by the time Mimika logs out for the day, she finally appreciates her own character design. And the next day at the academy, a girl named Yui tries to flex her social media stats, but the moment Misha strolls by, the entire server is captivated by her aura, totally nerfing Yui's clout. And even when they hit the city plaza, Yui's attempts to draw aggro completely fail against Misha's natural charisma, forcing Yui to initiate a 1v1 fashion duel, which Misha tries to skip by just agreeing Yui is better. But since that only triggers Yui's rage mode, Misha accepts the quest just to speedrun her shopping trip, while Tsubame spawns in disguised as a bear mascot to referee the match, making Yui insanely jealous that her rival is both rich and heavily guarded, before setting the rules for a chaotic free-for-all using only their current gold. But despite having the ultimate pay-to-win advantage, Misha's fashion stats are literally zero, so she just equips a simple bright dress, while Yui spams every accessory and ribbon in her inventory, ultimately securing Misha the victory because her clean build actually matches her vibe perfectly. And when Yui refuses to accept the game over screen, Tsubame steps in to optimize her messy loadout by removing the extra clutter, using pure military tactics to explain that overloading your gear just slows you down, instantly turning Yui into a hardcore simp who manages to attract professional photographers. But when her pic goes viral and a commenter begs for a low-angle shot, Yui gets confused and treats him like her top fan, until Tsubame immediately flags the guy as a massive creep trying to score an upskirt. And surely enough, the local news announces that the exact same dude just got hit with the ban hammer by the police. Fast forward to the school's sports festival, where Mimika is completely debuffed from chugging way too much iced coffee, while Misha had already sent an invite for Tsubame to spectate from the stands. And when the 50-meter dash kicks off, Misha realizes her speed stat is absolute garbage from strictly being an indoor gamer. So Yui tries to carry the team, only to trip over a black cat and critically sprain her ankle twice, forcing the squad to panic for a sub, until Tsubame enters the arena and totally obliterates the ball toss event, making the enemy team rage quit until the devs literally nerf her by tying her hands behind her back. But even without her upper body strength, this absolute tank uses her overpowered thighs to solo the tug-of-war and delete the relay race competition. Moving on to the three-legged race, Misha tries to forfeit, but Tsubame already locked their legs together in a co-op bind. And when they start lagging behind, Misha suggests clinging to Tsubame's leg for a speed boost, but the maid just wants to enjoy the minigame, somehow managing to secure third place despite matching her tiny master's incredibly slow frame rate. But as they travel back to base, a wild white-haired NPC named Midori suddenly approaches Misha, instantly triggering her stranger danger alarm and prompting her to summon the authorities, which causes the woman to grab Mimika instead, who also spams the police dial until the kidnapper finally retreats into the shadows. Safely back in her room, Misha Googles ways to permanently ban Tsubame from the server when her spidey senses tingle, making her spot that same crazy lady scaling a telephone pole outside like an absolute menace, until Tsubame Kool-Aid mans through the bedroom door and ids the stalker as First Lieutenant Midori, who reveals she only tracked them down to throw cash at Tsubame in exchange for her legendary cooking skills. But Tsubame stone cold rejects the quest and dials the cops on her former squadmate. Seeing a golden opportunity to swap out her annoying maid, Misha formulates a massive brain play, using Tsubame's gourmet food as bait to lure Midori into a secret alliance to get her attention, where the lieutenant dumps her entire backstory about spending a year grinding rep with military dogs to establish dominance, only for Tsubame to join the squad and passively assert authority over the entire pack, which oddly didn't make Midori mad, but instead inflicted her with the ultimate simp status, to the point where she started sleeping in the kennels, completely disgusting Tsubame while boosting her own devotion, even joining the dog's daily routine just to catch her commander's attention, until Tsubame abruptly retired from the military, leaving her entire unit without their guild leader. And though Midori refuses to leak the lore behind the retirement to Misha, she casually flexes that she has infinite money and could easily outbid whatever her current employer pays, which reminds Misha that she needs to level up into a responsible adult to avoid ending up like these weirdos. So right after Tsubame serves up a fresh bowl of udon, Misha and Midori team up to execute their master plan, working together to permanently log Tsubame out of the house by having Midori stealth swap into the maid position, even though she almost gets arrested mid-flashback for stripping in public, leading Misha to officially tell Tsubame she is fired. And when the news drops that she's being replaced, Tsubame surprisingly just logs off without a single argument, instantly hitting Misha with the guilt debuff, which gets way worse when the masochistic Midori cooks literal poison just to get scolded. And when her dad returns to find his favorite chef gone, the vibe in the house completely tanks since everyone misses her high-tier meals, leaving Misha tossing and turning in bed because the server feels way too empty without her annoying maid. Then the next day at school, a rumor drops that cute girls have low HP stats, prompting Yui to fake food poisoning for attention. But her party members just assume there's a flu going around and completely ignore her theatrics, while Misha returns to a spotless base, realizing Midori maxed out her cleaning skill tree but fully neglected cooking, forcing her to eat store-bought cake that doesn't even come close to Tsubame's legendary tier. And after a full week of relying on takeout, Misha's sanity meter is completely drained. So when they stumble upon Tsubame dramatically staring at a river, Midori violently shoves Misha forward to initiate dialogue, only for the ex-maid to hit her with the cold shoulder for firing her, forcing Misha to swallow her pride and beg for her top-tier meals to return, which turns out to be exactly what Tsubame planned because she knew Midori's cooking stats were trash, literally deploying a spy drone to record the confession as blackmail material, absolutely enraging the little girl all over again. And the nightmare isn't over since Midori invokes a contract clause requiring a month's notice, forcing the house to run a dual-maid meta. So the very next morning, Midori literally camps the front porch all night waiting for her idol to arrive, eagerly trying to learn the daily grind, while Tsubame takes charge of the kitchen and the morning wake-up call, though Misha strategically wakes herself up early just to dodge Tsubame's creepy staring attacks. And as the two maids move in to clear out the bedroom, Midori reveals she tried equipping frilly dresses to match Tsubame's aesthetic, but ultimately stuck to her dark armor since it boosts her confidence, even though Tsubame rejects the look entirely for not fitting her specific preferences. But despite her absolute devotion, Midori gets thoroughly grossed out by Tsubame hoarding Misha's fallen hair as crafting materials for dolls, before the chaotic duo disguises themselves to stealth follow Misha and Mimika on their walk home, where Tsubame's old lady skin totally fails to blend in since she's aggressively sprinting alongside a massive attack dog. And later that night, Midori announces she's being extracted by her wealthy family's transport, casually dropping the lore that she resides in an ultra-luxurious penthouse suite, which absolutely stuns the dad and forces Misha into begging for a sleepover invite, leaving her poor dad behind to solo defend the house while the girls celebrate. And as they log off for the night, he gets super stressed knowing the neighbors are spreading even more cursed rumors about his family. Meanwhile, upon entering the massive penthouse, Misha instantly dives onto the premium bed, only to be utterly confused when Midori pitches a survival tent right next to it, explaining that her weird upbringing means high-comfort environments literally drain her HP, which is why she deliberately nerfs her living conditions and even gaslights herself into thinking she's an adopted outcast, leading her family to drop her from the inheritance and let her join the Air Force just to suffer the way she wanted. Though whenever she acted up, her parents would mercilessly ground her in luxury, a punishment Misha literally prays for. So deciding to test her limits, Misha commands Midori to sleep in the actual bed sandwiched between her and Tsubame, but the comfort levels cause Midori to take critical damage and bleed from her nose, though they all survive to spend the next day farming the hotel's buffet and aquarium events. And as Midori's final days in the guild approach, she starts grinding job applications, making Tsubame super salty about the favoritism, until Misha admits she only tagged along out of pure pity to keep her company. So when her contract finally expires, Midori gets emotional realizing how hard it's going to be logging off from her new squad, but totally jebates everyone by revealing she just permanently moved into the exact same neighborhood, explaining she maxed out her online stock trading skills to buy a house and launch her own elite cleaning faction, ending the wholesome moment the very next morning when Tsubame suddenly screams, because Misha's premium underwear has been stolen. Miss Here immediately suspects that Tsubame is at fault in recording a portion of the maid's spiel as fake evidence, while Midori assumes the maid simply fumbled her inventory management, but catching sight of a random package triggers Tsubame's memory, reminding her that she literally stashed the underwear in her own gear. And the chaos only escalates later that day when Tsubame screams again because her underwear has been looted, which Misha brushes off completely, assuming the op maid doesn't even need armor stats down there. But it turns out the hamsters initiated a heist and are using the stolen goods as a base camp blanket, getting completely scolded by the ferret, who is terrified of Tsubame's wrath. And speaking of the ferret, Kumagoro gets so paranoid about an upcoming vet visit that he attempts to fast travel away, only to get scooped up by a random NPC kid, sending Misha into an absolute panic over losing her main familiar. Initially trying to stealth the search mission before finally caving and asking Tsubame for backup, who insists they tackle this as a co-op quest. So while Tsubame hits up the local authorities and Mimika spams flyers across the server, Misha searches the streets, getting hit with heavy lore flashbacks of when her stepdad first gifted her Kumagoro after her mom logged out. And seeing her morale drop, Tsubame hits her with a pep talk, reminding her that she's part of a guild now and they aren't giving up. But with zero clues dropping, Tsubame reluctantly summons Midori for a crossover event, who deploys her ex-police dog to sniff out the target. And while the dog completely ignores Midori's commands, he instantly registers Tsubame as the guild leader and tracks the scent straight to Yui's base, where Yui tries to trigger another rivalry event until they realize her little sister actually kidnapped the ferret to use as a literal cosmetic scarf, forcing Yui and her sister to apologize, while Misha shares an emotional cutscene reuniting with her furry companion. Though simply mentioning the vet instantly debuffs the ferret with pure fear again. Fast forward to a freezing morning, where Misha tries to exploit the weather to skip the school tutorial. But Tsubame rips open the curtains to reveal a massive snow event happening outside. And though Misha absolutely hates the cold debuff, the snow triggers more bittersweet flashbacks of her mom. So she forces herself outside, spotting Midori grinding the snow shoveling side quest before catching up with Mimika, who casually mentions she gained some HP weight, prompting her to suggest a snow-playing minigame to burn it off, which Misha hesitantly accepts despite her lingering sadness. And later in class, Yui aggroes Misha into a snowball duel because she's jealous of Misha's premium winter coat. And while Misha tries to dodge the quest, Mimika is super motivated to grind cardio, locking them into the match, with Yui's squad acting as the referees, including one girl who randomly flexes her bird-watching lineage. But the actual combat phase is brutal, as Yui's strength stat completely overpowers their defenses with heavy artillery throws. And just as a game over seems inevitable, Tsubame spawns in disguised as a literal snowman to drop tactical advice, instructing them to split roles with Mimika crafting ammo, while Misha goes full DPS, even telling Mimika to unequip her gloves to compress the snowballs into literal ice rocks, allowing the duo to perfectly execute the strategy and completely delete Yui's HP bar, only for the judges to totally miss the final blow, resulting in a frustrating tie screen. After the battle, Misha notices Mimika took some frost damage from bare-handing the snowballs, and as she breathes on her friend's hands to heal them, she realizes the snow event actually gave her some top-tier memories, a wholesome moment that Tsubame immediately ruins by reminiscing about her creepy first encounter with Misha, instantly restoring Misha's annoyance meter. Later, her stepdad unlocks a new fast travel location and offers a trip to the hot springs, which Misha initially rejects because staying at base is way easier. But she instantly changes her mind the second she hears they have capybara NPCs. And once Yasuhiro confirms it's strictly a duo mission, Misha goes into full stealth mode to ensure Tsubame never discovers their destination, prompting Yasuhiro to look at a family photo and get hit with his own flashback of when he first met Misha, remembering how the tiny, shy Misha instantly knew he was stepping up as the new dad and accepted his gentle nature by holding his hand, even though she still hasn't unlocked the achievement of actually calling him father. Meanwhile, Misha executes a massive decoy strat, visiting Mimika's house to fake out Tsubame's tracking radar, and their infiltration of the hot springs seems flawless until they are immediately ambushed by Tsubame, who somehow secured a part-time job as a waitress there, revealing she easily intercepted Misha's comms while disguised as a random dog walker. But Misha refuses to rage quit purely because she needs to see the capybaras, only to get massively nerfed upon realizing the animals are locked behind an unbreakable glass barrier, though she uses her beast tamer skills to at least summon them closer to the window. But desperate for actual interaction, Misha sneaks out to the petting zoo completely solo, ignoring Yasuhiro's explicit warnings about wandering out of bounds. And while interacting with the capybaras, she spots a wild panda mob roaming the nearby mountains, which Yasuhiro totally dismisses as a hallucination when she reports it. So she embarks on a solo expedition back to the zoo to find the rare spawn, leading Yasuhiro to wake up and realize his kid is missing from the party and not responding to pings. And when Tsubame delivers the food rations, she immediately detects the crisis and initiates a search and rescue op on the mountain, ordering Yasuhiro to hold down the base in case Misha respawns there. Flashing back 2 hours, we see Misha completely failing the navigation check, ending up lost, starving, and with zero cell service in the forest, terrified that her playthrough is about to end right after she finally started enjoying the school arc and making friends, until she finally encounters the panda, which turns out to be a literal bear cub eating a fish. And the situation goes from bad to nightmare difficulty when the mother bear spawns in, completely immune to Misha's animal communication skills. But just as she's about to get deleted, Tsubame superhero lands into the danger zone, and instead of engaging in physical combat, she just aggressively confesses her obsessive love for Misha, which somehow inflicts enough psychological damage to make the bear retreat. Safely back at the lodge, Misha reunites with Yasuhiro, both spamming apologies for the messy quest, before finally logging off in their room to recover HP, where Yasuhiro stress checks her for a fever debuff, relieved she's fine, and drops an emotional truth bomb about how broken he'd be if he lost her too, triggering a final memory for Misha of visiting her mom's design studio, greeting her with a teddy bear after she finished grinding work, spending quality time playing with their bears, while Yasuhiro supplied the snack buffs outside, and remembering how her mom sketched Misha and Yasuhiro, but Misha insisted her mom draw herself into the frame to complete the legendary family portrait. Jumping ahead, Misha is super hyped about hosting a basic pajama party, instantly rejecting Tsubame's proposal for a massively over-the-top Misha-worshipping festival because the vibes are way too cursed. And when Tsubame tries to use the event as an excuse to finally unlock the mysterious room, Misha fiercely defends the restricted zone. Later, the party officially starts with Mimika, but Yui randomly crashes the lobby trying to force another rivalry event, even though she secretly just wants to join the guild, which everyone easily sees right through. And after running around the yard, the squad enjoys some premium snacks while Yui aggressively envies Misha's top-tier base setup, just in time to witness Midori getting physically dragged away by the cops like it's a normal daily quest, allowing Midori to formally introduce herself, clearly feeding off the group's negative energy toward her. And as night falls, the girls initiate a wholesome co-op bath event, where Misha stays on high alert expecting Tsubame to launch a sneak attack, but the raid never happens, letting the girls actually bond, later equipping the custom pajamas Tsubame crafted, which massively boosts everyone's morale except Misha's. And once they retreat to the bedroom, Mimika and Yui start hardcore simping for Tsubame, praising her op stats and beauty, while calling out Misha for secretly actually liking her chaotic maid, leaving Misha to quietly ponder the lore behind why Tsubame ever abandoned her pilot class, before the girls launch into a massive, chaotic pillow fight that Tsubame is forced to just spectate by clinging to the ceiling like a bat, eventually getting banished to sleep outside while the party members secure the bedroom. But during the night phase, Mimika escorts Yui on a bathroom run, where Yui tries to speedrun a shortcut but gets constantly jump-scared by the darkness, plus discovering Midori folded into a cursed sleeping position in the actual toilet, and the terrifying glowing eyes of the house pets finally break their sanity, causing them to accidentally crash into the forbidden mystery room. So when Misha respawns in the morning and heads downstairs for a pet check, she immediately notices the sealed room has been breached, spotting random footprints that confirm a massive security failure. And when Tsubame casually spawns behind her to say good morning, Misha instantly targets her, projecting all the blame onto the maid, who just tanks the accusation without throwing the real culprits under the bus, leading Misha to completely rage quit, locking herself away after accusing Tsubame of defiling her mother's sacred territory. And while the other girls witness the entire meltdown, Midori orders them to hold their tongues, explaining Tsubame took the aggro intentionally to protect their friendship, eventually calling Yasuhiro into the lobby to explain the lore of the room, revealing it was her mother's dedicated crafting space where the family shared their highest-tier bonding moments, serving as the one save point where Misha still feels her mother's presence, heavily implying she practically lived in there right after the tragic event. A backstory that hits Tsubame right in the feels, syncing up perfectly with her own trauma of losing her dad and clinging to the lie that he was just hanging out in the sky, prompting Tsubame to march up to Misha's door and drop the ultimate reality check, brutally stating that her mother is permanently gone, a harsh truth Yasuhiro admits he was too weak to deliver. Just as Misha receives incoming comms from Mimika and Yui, confessing they were the ones who actually breached the room. But Misha admits she already figured that out, yet still refuses to leave her isolation zone, until Midori suddenly drop attacks from a ceiling vent, delivering emergency food rations that Tsubame cooked out of pure concern. And when Misha finally demands the lore behind Tsubame's retirement, Midori breaks character and admits she has literally zero clue, revealing she only faked knowing to maintain her edgy persona, later finding Tsubame speed cleaning the entire base as preparation to officially log out for good, which completely triggers Midori, who roasts Tsubame's resolve, claiming that abandoning the quest proves she never actually cared about Misha's well-being, hitting a critical nerve that forces Tsubame to storm Misha's door one last time, dumping her complete origin story about her muscular pilot dad, whose obsession with bodybuilding ironically pushed Tsubame toward frilly dresses and dolls, and how his death forced her to class change into a pilot herself, chasing him into the sky on her very first flight, revealing that just like Tsubame, Misha actually accepted her parents' permadeath a long time ago, but felt massive guilt because her lack of shock at the room breach made her feel like a bad daughter, believing she was disrespecting her mother's memory simply because she was starting to enjoy her new life. But Tsubame instantly parries that logic, declaring that leveling up, making friends, and moving forward is exactly what her mother's ultimate wish would be, finally dropping the ultimate lore bomb that she lost her right eye to a disease, which permanently nerfed her stats and forced her pilot retirement, explaining that she was aimlessly wandering the map until she spotted the tiny Misha and her mom, an encounter that completely restored her will to keep playing the game. And when Tsubame proudly declares Misha as her guiding light, the little girl finally accepts that her maid has been heavily carrying her this whole time, unlocking the door to let her in, wrapping up the series with Misha confidently progressing through her main storyline, with Yasuhiro proudly watching her leave, Midori picking up a haunted house cleaning side quest, and Misha fully enjoying her school arc with her squad, all while eternally tolerating Tsubame's overpowered antics.